So this is the most basic setup we got here. And my interpretation now that I've actually done this tutorial is basically you're going to need a base color for whatever you got. You're going to need a reflective property. You're going to need a roughness, and you're going to need an actual texture. Okay, so today I'm working on materials because this is the problem. I have a bunch of materials from a bunch of different random asset packs that is making our GPU and our load just go crazy. Red zones, way too much computations going on in these materials. White zones, really bad, which wouldn't be so bad if we didn't have so much red. Green is all right. So this is what I found behind those materials. I don't have an issue with this other than the fact is it's not optimized for our big open world. And you can clearly see what ended up happening when this got instanced across our entire world. Here's the video that I almost got all the way through that was teaching about materials. Okay, so right here is about in this tutorial where I want to get to. Basically what I'm going to do, my work cut out for today, is to go and from a combination of assets for free on the marketplace, maybe some paid assets, and from what we already have is I am after normal maps, which is the texture that creates the material look. Like you look at this and you go, oh, that looks like cement. It looks like cement because of the texture on the normal map. Work from there. So onward and upward, my friends. And this is Unreal Engine Materials in 6 Levels of Complexity by P.W. Nisher. Probably not how you say that. Punisher? Yeah, there you go. I'm going to create a new level to do all this in. And what I want to do is just create a bunch of blocks to work with. Cube, I like cubes. And this is going to be like our palette, if you will. In content, I'm going to make a new folder. Now in materials, let's go ahead and let's just go back to the tutorial and start following along. That's what we need to do.
Selecting material. I'll call it MM for master material.
Step 1, material, master material. Is that what we call it? We just call it master material? Let's call it, for now we'll just leave it with master material.
Right click it and immediately we'll create that material instance. All right. And let's double click and open our master material. We're in. Let's do this.
Oh, it's a separate window that's docked. Okay, that makes sense. Is what he's doing, like that. Yes, 100% that's what he's doing. So, okay, he said to hit Control Spacebar and then he automatically has textures in his tray, but I don't, so I am going to go find a texture. Okay, but he's highlighting a bunch of stuff. I think this is all of the files associated with a single material. Let me check it out real quick. Let's do abandoned factory. Decals, environment, base materials. So go into textures. And what is this? Okay, so I'm assuming that n_n is a normal map. Okay, I think that's a normal map because it's _n. This guy could have done so much better. Sorry for a dude who did Abandoned Factory. For somebody who's just like getting into this, I would have liked that to say normal instead of _n. And then R, let's assume that means roughness because I'm just trying to match up what I know this guy's already going to teach. Roughness, base color, and specular. We need specular. I know he's going to say specular. Normal.
Drag out our textures from any asset you got online. You drag them into here and you pipe them into the appropriate slots. So let's do that. We got our normal map.
First thing that stands out to me is these are all the same nodes, but one represents a normal map, one represents roughness, and one represents base color. And as a noob, I don't know how to tell the difference, honestly. I think he says here later that because this is a grayscale, you can tell that that's roughness. Because this is purple blue, you can tell that that's a normal map. And because this is a flat color, that's how you know that it's a base color. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is add the normal map to the normal. Boom. Okay, roughness from a single channel like that.
And we have the most simple version of a material in Unreal Engine. You know, you apply that material instance to your model, make sure you save it. But here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to right click each one of these and we're going to convert.
Okay, I already kind of know where he's going because I already watched this. So I'm going to go ahead and reorganize these. And I'm just creating the same basic layout that he has. That's got to be the next one. Can I rename it? Duplicate, cut, delete, break, use current, da 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 da. I've got to be able to rename this. That's going to drive me crazy. Okay, next big step here. Still, that's going to take a while to realize. I can look here and say base color, specular, normal, but I also want to translate that into like normal people terms. Maybe make it more designer user friendly. And I'll do that by my naming disciplines. Let's see. So promote to, where do you have that? Promote to
We're going to do,
parameter.
we're going to right click each one of these and we're going to convert them.
Oh, convert to a parameter. Convert to a parameter, and now I can name it. And let's call this albedo somewhere. How do I get it over there?
To a parameter. Essentially what this does, if I hit save,
Layer
by
parameters.
converting it to a parameter,
Oh, I gotta
you
save
can
it.
check this box and you can switch this.
Saving. Please show up over here. Yes, look at that. Global texture parameter. Parent groups? Wait, no, where did it show up? General. Previewing. Parameter groups, global texture parameter. T base color. Why is it not called some fancy name that I gave it? Global texture parameters. Did come up as global texture parameters. I guess you don't get to call it what you want.
This out for any other texture you
want. Save sibling, save child. Why? Oh, there it is. Albedo, base color, and light absorption. That's what I like to see. Cool. We can turn that on and off now. All these need to be promoted to parameters. Convert to parameter. And this one is the specular. Specular. Roughness. Okay, this makes a lot more sense to me, and I wish that tutorials would have it put in these terms. And so what I have done here is I've just given a base note to each one of these. Albedo, the base color, no lighting or shadow influence. That's pretty self-explanatory. Specular is the reflective percentage. To me, that makes sense. Open to interpretation. Roughness is the physical smoothness, and the normal map is the visual texture design. So like if you have bricks, the bricks, like the actual design of bricks, is going to be in this texture map. Physical smoothness is going to be very low. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure, because it's bricks. The reflective percentage is going to be very high. No, it's going to be very low. I don't know how the numbers work, but you know, it doesn't reflect jack. And then the albedo is going to be, you know, some kind of burgundy or red or brown or whatever it is. And so yeah, there we go. There we got our base set. Now let's get back into this tutorial. We can do this, and then we are going to group them in the display as textures. And then if I save that, it should show up over here as textures in a little drop down. Cool. First things first, gotta move stuff over. M and left click. Boom. And if we do S and left click, we get a scalar parameter. And it's my understanding now that parameters are the things that end up showing up in the material instance, which is awesome because I love having little toggle switches and inputs. So we need a default of 1. Oh, that's 10. So 1, and that'll give us our normal color. Other than, base brightness, I don't know if I need a bunch of other ones. I'm trying to create a really lean material here. So basically I just jumped on chat and asked. So basically what I said is I'm watching this YouTube tutorial and this guy is adding nodes like brightness, saturation, and contrast to the specular, the normal map, the base color, and is this something that I might need to consider for optimization for different platforms or just what I'm working on? And basically what it's saying here is that yes, that's absolutely a valid observation, especially if you're going to be targeting mobile at any point. In most cases, it says that for a PC or a console or a desktop, it's going to make a minor impact, especially if you're just prototyping or fine tuning, having just, some simple nodes like that. But if you don't end up actually going through there and deciding on the instances which of those things to keep and to not keep, then you can get pretty heavy just having a bunch of toggle switches that you're not going to use. So I'm actually going to keep this really, really simple. And I think what I'm going to do is I will go back and I will add things as necessary to the master. But I'm going to start with something bare bone. All this one saturation, saturation. And we got default values and all of them. That's supposed to be 1. Oh, I love just cleaning up nodes. Can I do that? Can I grab all the using group them? How do I do that? What did he just do? Oh, okay, I couldn't select them because I need to select parameters if I'm going to group them. I thought these were all parameters. Oh, not that multiplier. There we go. Now I got a group and I can put it under albedo. Is the grouping over here. Let's call it texture inputs. My material here is like, what's going on with it? Oh, it's because my tint is to black. Okay, so I need to have a default white. Okay, there we go. Got it. Solutioned. Okay, so now what I got here is I can go over into base color adjustments, and because I have parameters and I have them labeled over here, I can select these and I can start to mess with this guy. Let's see, albedo contrast. Okay, so my question here is, can I turn these on and off in an instance and it actually affect the shader compiling, or does it compile it anyways and then it just doesn't show the results of these things? And my answer is right here. I'm actually going to read it. Static switch parameter, what you want for optimization. If you want parts of your material to not be compiled at all unless a checkbox is enabled, use a static switch parameter instead of a regular Boolean or dynamic parameter. These are evaluated at shader compile time, not runtime. I didn't know there was a difference. So when the checkbox is off, those branches are completely stripped from the shader. How to use it? Add a static switch parameter to your material. Name it something like use custom roughness or whatever feature you're toggling. Plug in the true and false logic into the switch. In the material instance, toggling the checkbox will actually compile 2 different shader permutations, one with and one without. If the checkbox is unchecked, the GPU doesn't run any of the math in that branch. It's as if it doesn't exist. Okay, as compared to if you use standard runtime if node or Boolean parameter, both branches are still compiled and calculated on the GPU even if the condition is false. Why? GPUs are parallel processors. They evaluate both sides of the conditional to avoid branching performance costs. So even if your checkbox is off, any math nodes connected to that logic are still running in the background. Interesting. I'm doing some learning. I love it. Next question. Then, is it possible to have relatively complex master materials but toggle the appropriate static switches to optimize each instance for only the logic you want for that specific material? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly how advanced material workflows are structured in Unreal, especially large projects. You can absolutely create complex master materials and use the static switch parameters to strip out unused features per material instance, optimizing each one individually. With that being said, I am curious about, and this is why I like to add notes. I mean, like, maybe if you're a pro, you come in here and just know exactly what all this stuff is. And this is just one. I mean, let me see if I can find the other one that just blew my mind. Not that one. Pretty complex, detailed roughness. What's that one that I thought was absolutely wild? Okay, I don't know what this is, but I wonder if there's any static switches in there. I would imagine they would be like in the middle in between these things. Jeez Louise. There is one thing that I'm interested in, which is world orientation. And because sometimes you get a material that you like and you need to be able to rotate it or orientate it so it tiles properly, things like that. I think that is almost like a must have. Like maybe I just don't have the eye for this other stuff, but definitely knowing that bricks are laid in the wrong orientation is obvious. Having one wall panel have bricks that are 1 inch and another wall panel that have them stretched 4 feet, like that is something I run into because I don't have a cohesive materials approach. So that's what I'm going to do here. Multiply S for a parameter, and this will be roughness. Hold E for a power node. Hold S for a parameter. Go there, and then go to specular. Roughness. Restart. Beep. Okay, look for flatten, normal, and then O for 1 minus, and then S for specular. What that's gonna do? Okay, that like totally flattened it, so now our texture is non-existent like. Normal map intensity. Normal intensity. Boom. And then, yeah, that's sick. And I can just go crazy with it. Okay, the next thing we're doing here, I actually read about it just now, which is, I'm stoked for that actually. He's actually creating static switches, which actually give you the opportunity to bypass the shader computations on a particular pathway if you want to optimize and keep something simple and you don't want to actually use a certain branch of logic in the material. So if you want your material instance to be really optimized, you're not going to use a certain branch, you hit this switch. And so we are going to call it a switch. Is it just going to be called a switch? Static switch. There we go. Constant 3 vector. Cool. Switch. Optimized based color. And I can change it from here. Open so and check that. It all goes away. Default specular. I am going to redundantly name these things. It's not default though, it's base. Oh, that's not supposed to go there. This is supposed to go there, roughness. Now that one should just be called normal map intensity. So the normal map should be in a group just called normal map. Not intensity, that's all, just take intensity out. Okay, we are getting there. Let's do it. We'll actually just keep metallic just to get it in there. So we need to be able to rotate materials, and we need that material to be able to duplicate and tile properly instead of scaling and stretching. So I'm going to jump into that now.